Showtime. We're live. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. How are we?
All good.
Oh, God, yeah, good. Amazing.
Amazing, good. Well, thanks for joining, Kevin, Michelle, Tony, and Paul. Tony, you were obviously shy. You didn't want to spell your full surname, hey?
Yeah, well.
I know it's. I
thought you were doing it for me.
It's all right. I can't spell it either. That's why I was hoping you could.
He's on witness protection. Just be kind.
Okay, fair enough. So a few people are joining us now. Hi, Andy Overman. Can you hear us and see us loud and clear, please? Please let us know. And the same for everybody else joining. So delighted to be welcome today to have you all back. So Kevin Ellis from the Land and New Homes Network, Michelle Brook from Mortgage Advice Bureau, Tony Piccirillo from AV Relo, and Paul Shamplina from Landlord Action, Hamilton Fraser. Anywhere else?
Quite a few more, but let's move on.
So reason for this is national press is saying property prices are dropping by 30%. It's very difficult to get a mortgage at the moment. Conveyancing is very challenging and sales are falling through. Lettings rent, nobody's paying their rents. So I'm sure that that's not the case. And thank you, Angelo. I'm not looking as handsome as your brother, but I'm looking quite good. So thanks very much. So please like it, share it, get some more people involved. So Kevin, from your point of view, you know, you've got a network of how many agents in your Land and New Homes network, please?
We've got coverage in about 450 locations across the UK.
Okay. So agents have been back after we've just been back for over 2 weeks now. What have you noticed? What have you seen?
I think from the agent's perspective, everyone without exception is saying they're busy. I think some are happy to unfurlough the staff quicker than maybe they thought they were going to, just because they are busy. Valuations seem to be good. Instruction levels seem to be good. Sales seem to be good. I think everyone's still got a bit of cautiousness of, is this just a bubble? But yeah, that's from the agent's point of view. House builders, they're back open. They're doing reservations. I think the thing I might have said on the previous webinar, really, that it's amazing how many house builders are almost in awe of what agents have done through the period of just being sort of so much more nimble and agile of sort of facilitating viewing. So a lot of them are still playing a bit of catch up, but reservations are still good. So yeah, no, it's really encouraging.
And you're seeing, so reservations are being signed at the moment by, would you say, first time buyers, or are there part exchanges going on now?
So there is part exchange going on. I think, you know, from the house builders' point of view, they've come back, they've got this, they are sitting on stock, or there is a bit of stock that's still there. Certainly completions that are coming through in the next 3 to 6 months. You know, my daughter, I was trying to help her last week buy a property. It's not even been reserved, you know, not even released. They wouldn't even take they did then take an early bird, but there was about 5 or 6 people fighting for the same plot. So, you know, on the balance of that, and also looking at even at sort of the other end of the market, went up to a Red Rose site last week. They've just released. They've had a queue of people waiting to reserve. So yeah, I think it's really busy.
Okay, that's positive. Just coming back for whether it's an opportunity for developers, because they're holding stock, will they consider going multi-agency now, or are you finding they persevering with their agents? And if it's agent free, are they more likely to be looking at working with agents now?
Okay, I think first of all, if they're working with an agent, depending on who the agent is, there's quite a lot of developers that are looking to swap agents. And that's particularly relevant for stock that was on the market with the corporates, mainly because they neglected those instructions over the last 10 to 12 weeks. So there's some pretty disgruntled house builders out there, particularly when they've then seen that good independents have been sort of really buzzing and sort of trying to make things happen. So certainly, yeah, you're going to see some agents getting kicked off of some sites because they've not performed. I think equally, you've got house builders that are direct sell. that are absolutely engaging with agents at the moment. That's coming out loud and clear. And that's particularly because where you can only now book an appointment to go and visit on a site, you can't just rock up. The sort of consequence of that is it's sort of done away with that sort of foot traffic they would have had through the door of the carpet treaders. But the consequence of that is then the visitor to sales rates are going to get impacted as well. So they're really keen to engage with agents that are ultimately dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Miggins and, you know, people that are, you know, getting on and moving, and also leveraging databases. So there's an awful lot of that going on. We've seen some really good instructions, one in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, it's really encouraging actually.
Brilliant, thank you. Welcome, Andrea. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us from Perth. Is it sunny there today? Owen, nice to see you and have you on here. You haven't sent me what you're going to do today, so I'm holding you accountable live on Facebook in front of everybody. So, Michelle, thank you for joining us again. So, how have you found things on the mortgage side since we've reopened?
Yeah, okay. Well, it's pretty mad. We've got a backlog of cases that we need to get through the system, relying on getting valuers out to the house to value them, of course. But from a lending perspective, lenders, they are lending, but the maximum lending is 90%, and that is with a very, very limited number of lenders. The top lenders have a maximum loan of 85% at the moment, and so there is no 95% lending really. There is something called the Barclays Springboard mortgage, which you may have heard of, which can sort of get a 95% mortgage, but parents have to be involved. So it's limited down to the loan to value, and I think, you know, it's just from a cautious point of view, from the lender's point of view, but also they have still got restrictions on, you know, the number of staff that they have to cope with everything that they have to cope with at the moment. So they are lending, but with maximum loans.
Okay, lovely. So I was just I had a quick look through Twitter before we came on, and there's about 5 agents there saying that they're seeing down valuations, and they're feeling very hard done by because they've got all the comparables, they've got all the evidence, and they can't understand why the surveyors and the lenders aren't accepting the comparables. Any advice to those agents out there how to I don't know. Well, firstly, what are you seeing, and you know, can you help them?
To me again, yeah. Well, I'll be honest, we're not seeing that at the moment. We are the odd valuation, but nothing out of the ordinary. But I think that will change as the backlog goes through the system. And I genuinely don't think that. I think you're fighting a losing battle, because the bigger picture, of course, is lenders being cautious, because I think everyone's going to be expecting in unemployment. So, you know, that's a major factor to be thinking about when you are lending, etc. But also, as we all know, unemployment can affect the housing market. So, yeah, I think that's where we stand really at the moment. It's difficult, but I'd like to say that I'd like to give you better news, but
no, that's what it's about. It's about being realistic.
It is, and we're actually not seeing the down valuations at the moment. But as I said, I think that may change.
And are you seeing things where mortgage offers that were out there are being pulled now because people's work circumstances have changed? Whereas previously, you know, they may well have been in employment, but sadly they're not. You know, again, what are the lenders? What are their views on that?
We're not seeing a lot of that, but obviously you have to let the lender know that there are a change in circumstances. That's what it comes down to. So as a broker, as business, like we are as a business, it is our duty to let the lender know that there are changes. But to be honest with you, it's our duty to give the right advice to the client anyway. And if they can't afford the house, they can't afford it, and you know, that is the right advice. If they can't afford it, to think about it seriously. So yeah.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Tony?
Hello. You told me to unmute when I wasn't on, so that's right.
There you go. You're all good at listening. Old pipeline, so the stuff that was in hand before lockdown. What's happened with that? How have you found that? Has that all gone through now? And are you finding that since we've come back, a number of sales have been agreed?
I think the old pipeline. Zoopla did the report, didn't they? Just about a month ago, and they thought there were probably about 337,000 properties in the pipeline. So that hasn't all gone through, and it's tough, to be honest with you. I mean, it's tough getting it through because there's a variety of reasons for that. I think one of the reasons is that a lot of people are not back from furlough. So there's you got the problem that the lawyers are not back properly, and I think whatever anyone may tell you that it's business as normal for lawyers, that's definitely not the case. That's the reality. Is most people are still not answering phones directly. Most people still haven't got their staff back. So it's not business as usual at all. It might be portrayed as that because obviously they want to keep the agents happy, but the reality is that's not the case. So you got that problem. You got a problem is that people coming back from furlough and not, I think it's a big shock for them, isn't it? I'm sure the agents are finding that people have been on furlough and not up to full pelt yet. So I think that's a problem as well. And then you got the added problem that we are dependent, lawyers are dependent on third parties. So we need mortgages, and Michelle's saying that there's a backlog there, which I completely understand, but they're not coming through. Valuations are taking the time. We've got search, local authorities, they're not all back from furlough, and they've got a massive, pipeline delay as well. So it isn't all guns blazing. You got this, one thing that's changed, has actually changed, is one of the obligations on lawyers is that they've got to put a clause in their contracts to make sure that their clients are protected for COVID. And that's for two reasons. One reason is although conveyancing can go ahead, what the government effectively said is it can go ahead, but you've got to make provision for someone in that chain having the virus, in which case they can't move, they're not allowed to move. So you've got to make provision for that, and also make provision for the fact that the lockdown may come back. I mean, they've not ruled that out, the government. Even in the guidance, they said, you've got to think about that. So there's a possibility, and I think 17 countries this morning in different parts of the world reintroduced the lockdown. So it's not, we're not out of it yet. And they're expecting the lawyers to have clauses to cater for that. The reality is no lawyers have really got that, because it's not been tested by the courts. So, there's no clause out there. There's been some conveyancing association, which we're part of, have introduced a clause which they're suggesting to people, but that's not tested. But the shortcome of this is that up until probably about a week ago, most lawyers, about 90% of our completions and exchange completions were happening simultaneously because most lawyers weren't giving their clients a choice. Do you want to exchange now, or do you want to do a simultaneous, which it's got less risk for you? And that's changed. That's changed now. Now we're seeing 50-50. So 50% of people are saying to their clients, look, do a simultaneous. That's the only way you can be safe. As a former estate agent and a business owner, I'm desperate to get things to exchange. So the good news is that people are now starting to advise their clients, well, you can actually exchange now. There is a risk, but you can actually exchange now. So that's been a big change in conveyancing, and it's meaning we get more cases exchanged. But a lot of very high profile conveyancers are still saying that anything but a sim is too dangerous to do, and advising their clients not to exchange contracts. So that's still happening. So it's getting there, but I think there's lots of, conveyancing is kind of a bit like a cottage industry. You've got some big players, and you've got some good regional players that have got great IT, but it's very much, smaller companies. There's some great ones out there, but some of them are, do other bits of legal work as well. So conveyancing is not always their top priority. So there's still lots of bugs in the system.
So your advice to agents would be to find solicitors that are actually working, not furloughed, and that can make sure. things are going through. And have you noticed more sales have been agreed and put into the pipeline?
Yeah, definitely. Last week has been a massive change. Actually, we've not really stopped being busy even through lockdown, because through lockdown, what we're doing is trying to get our completions through. And actually, we did really well. Our clients and agents, managed to get to completion. But the problem is we're dependent on other people, aren't we? So that's the difficulty. And now we're really busy trying to clear that pipeline. I think agents, what they've got to do is, work very closely. Hopefully, they're going to work very closely with their existing lawyers on the case they've got at the moment. But crucial going forward is you must, like controlling FS, you must control your conveyancing even more than before. You can't let it go to a conveyancer that you don't know, because you don't know if that person's really got people on furlough. You don't really know if that person's got the capacity to, or even the ethic or the commercial reality to get those deals through to exchange contracts. So I think it's really crucial. Stephen, you've always, controlled your conveyancing in your FS, and it's crucial to get deals to exchange and completion. It's even more important now. But before, it used to be a situation that if you controlled it, you'd make more money, you'd make more profit, which is great. But now I think for agents, for any business, it's a matter, if you don't control it, you may not be in business, because you need that cash flow to actually be in business. So it's crucial, and that's really, really important, more important than before.
So with new technology like this that we're on now, if you wanted to speak to Michelle or Kevin or Paul about the sale on it, our solicitors and actually mortgage brokers as well, would you be amenable, and maybe developers and lettings agents and tenants and landlords all getting on Zoom calls and just, actually, right, this is what's outstanding on the mortgage offer, this is what you need to do, and just try and speed up the whole process, get the other side solicitor on Zoom and just say, right, this is outstanding. All these things surely have got to help now with the new technology.
Do you want the real answer? I think
I'm trying.
I think the reality is I think it's an amazing idea, and I think that really is the way forward. I mean, what COVID's done is terrible. What it's done is speeded up a lot of the things that would be happening in the next 5 years probably will happen in 3 or 4 months. So the drive towards technology, is happening now. It's driving people going out of business. There was talk about lots of lawyers coming out of the conveyancing market because it's there's so much negligence, and there's so much admin to do. There's talk about a big part of the market coming out of conveyancing. And I think that's just going to happen much faster now. And I think IT is really the saving grace for conveyancing, because conveyancing is 75% admin. Really, that's what the stats show. So IT can take that all out of the way. Now, in terms of speaking to people, now I think Zoom is an amazing idea, but we've had something at our office where we do conference calls, where what we do is we try to get both clients on the telephone, both solicitors on the telephone, all the agents on the telephone, so we can have a discussion. And that's less, hassle for a call, is less hassle for a lawyer than a Zoom call. And we really struggle getting the other side solicitors to get on the telephone. And so we originally, our intention was to use it almost in all our cases. But what we found really is that it comes down to when you've got those real problem cases where, the client's saying one thing, the other side's saying something else, it's great to get people on the telephone. And it saves deals. It gets you to exchange when exchange wasn't going to happen. But the real problem for us is the agents love it, the clients love it, they want to do it, but the other side solicitors invariably don't love it. So it's actually very hard to generate even a phone call. So although in principle, I think that's an amazing idea, Stephen. I think it's hard enough getting a call. So I think Zoom will be even harder. But I think for the good firms, I think it's a great idea. We're introducing that into our company so clients and agents can speak to us by Zoom, because it just creates, you're pressing the flesh, but not in the flesh. You put that. So I think it's an amazing idea.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tony. Paul, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. So thanks for being really patient. Couple of questions are coming. One for Kevin and one for Michelle. So hi, Ruth. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us. So Michelle, I see talk of potentially there being a shift to negative interest rates. What effect would this have on the mortgage market?
Say that. What was the first bit?
Okay, so I see there's talk of potentially there being a shift to negative interest rates. What effect would that have on the mortgage market?
Negative interest rates, as in higher interest rates, or
No, they'll be below zero. So Bank of England are talking about them going below zero.
Yeah.
So will we see even lower? Will we see even lower interest rates?
Good. Well, that's a very good question, and I think at the moment I'd be able to.
For some reason.
Can you not hear me at all? Can you hear me?
I can now. Thank you.
You can hear me? Yeah. That's a very good question. In a normal world, I would be able to answer that, but at the moment, I don't think I can, because it's all going to come down to what the lenders feel that it's going to come down to risk from the lender's perspective. So what we are finding at the moment is some lenders, to manage the level of business that they are dealing with, will put rates. It will increase rates. So to attract less business. Not many are doing that, to be honest. The rates are still very good that are out there, actually. So as I said, in a normal world, that would just mean very positive things from a lending perspective. But at the moment, I think it comes more down to what risk the lender wants to take.
Okay, lovely.
So yeah.
Thanks, Owen. Just let us know if that answers the question. Thanks, Paul, saying you can hear us. Kevin, Help to Buy schemes for new homes. You seeing a lot of those? Is now a good time? You talked about your daughter buying a new home now, and good luck to her. So I hope it all goes smoothly. Are you seeing Help to Buy as a good option?
Help to Buy is a massive facilitator for sales, for sure. And also we're seeing a high number. So on that profile of buyer, we're seeing a lot of tenants coming out of renting to obviously take advantage of the Help to Buy, because it's actually easier for them to get on the property ladder than it is to go and save the usual deposit. So we're definitely seeing that. I think there was obviously, well, in fact, there were obviously going to be implemented changes for Help to Buy coming. I think you're going to see that's going to not happen. I think they'll carry that on for a period of time. I don't know what Michelle feels on that, but that seems to certainly be the general consensus.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's definitely it's without doubt a big sales incentive. And to be fair, if I was an agent right now, the first thing I'd be doing is spending a lot of time talking to my tenants and really understanding what they want to do, because back to the client life mentality, what a very easy win to get a mortgage lead straight in, get a conveyance lead straight in, and get a sale. And that includes to housing associations as well. I'd be doing an awful lot of work as an agent with housing associations at the moment, because some of them are really good, but there's quite a few that are really stuck in a bit of the dark ages, and they have got a lot of stock to shift. Whilst they might resist working with an agent, actually when it's leveraged to them properly, of just the size of their tenant databases for one, let alone their other sort of local intel where first-time buyers are hanging out, I'd be all over that like a rash.
Brilliant, fantastic advice. Thank you. And Tony, one for you. Can actually be a selling point for solicitors and pros to say that they are techno-friendly.
Yeah, massively. I think it's an amazing selling point. I think for lawyers it's a massive selling point. I think for agents it's a massive selling point to be able to work with lawyers that can actually get their deals through. I mean, I think that's a massive selling point, because the reality is that clients don't sell properties, but don't put property on with an agent to get offers. They put property on to move. Now, if you can get a great lawyer on your job, and you can actually make the deal happen, I think that's a massive selling point for an agent. And let's be honest with you, with an abortive rate, a fall-through rate of about 30 to 40%, lots of people are not doing a great job. So if you can get on board with a great lawyer, and I think great lawyers now need to have amazing IT, and if you can get on board with a great lawyer, they can actually get your deals through. I think that's a massive selling point that you should be making more of with with the clients. I mean, that's an obvious distinction that I think is not used enough. I mean, when I was an agent, that was one of our big things. That's why I qualified as a lawyer, so I could actually say to people, look, I'm going to get you the best price, but the difference with me is I'm actually going to get you moved. So I think that's a massive selling point. Yeah, 100%.
I think that's also just coming in on that, Tony. I think that's absolutely why house builders are able to get their transactions through so much quicker, because what generally happens, particularly on a pre-legal setup of a site, you've got sort of the developer's lawyer here, and then the 2 recommended solicitors over here. You have, you're talking about sort of telephone conversations and all the comm stuff that goes wrong. But actually, when there's proper recommended partners in place, they get all of that nonsense all out of the way right on day one on the first sale. No surprises. Their transaction time is twice as quick as it is in a second-hand transaction.
I think you're absolutely right, Kevin. I mean, we work with we do either side work. We work on either side of the deals, and we've got great relationships with some of the lawyers that are on there. And those deals just go through because people are willing to speak to you because there's a pressure. Yeah, I think lawyers are innately don't like speaking to. They want to be on the, not through intentionally. They're just so busy doing their work, so they think their job is actually plowing through the work. But the reality is their job is to move people. So that involves picking up the phone. That's really the only way you get through problems. Yeah. And I think the better relationship that you got with your lawyers, the better relationship the lawyers have got with themselves, the easier it is to get transactions. I mean, I think it's going to be one of the changes, Stephen. I think it's going to coming up is going to be that we've got the issue about the current pipeline, okay, but then we've got the issue about what's going to happen for the property sales that are happening at the moment. Now, the reality is lawyers are all busy working on their current pipeline because, like agents, they've got cash flow issues. They want to get paid on it as well. So most lawyers' focus is entirely on that and not on the new stuff. So that needs to, you need to make sure your lawyers have got capacity to deal with that new work coming in, got systems in place to get that running, and make sure that the things that take the time, like the searches, happen like that. You can only do that with IT. So you've got to make sure you're working with people that can do that for you. The other thing that you've always banged on about, Stephen, and now is really the time to be doing, is to be front loading, the conveyancing and be getting that legal pack, almost like a home information pack, but really be doing that. And there's always been talk, Stephen, I say you've been talking about it for years. There's always been talk of agents saying, that's a great idea. Let me do it. Let me stand out from the crowd. Even now there's talk of that happening. Not many agents actually doing it. I understand why, because actually it does take time. So the property mark have got this new sales toolkit, and I think it's a great idea. It front loads the information, and I think that's going to be adopted, and I think hopefully it's going to be adopted nationwide, and I think it'd be an amazing thing for the industry. Reality is at the moment that takes agents time to do, so you have to find the time to use this great product. So if the agents haven't got time to do that, the answer is partner up with a firm that actually is doing that for you. You can do that. But I think hopefully the property mark tool will really take off, and I think hopefully it'll revolutionise the amount of time it takes to get to exchange, because I think it's a good product. But now, get with speak to your lawyers. There's something that they can do for you, but that's going to make a change to your business. That's something that is going to guarantee your pipeline in times to come. You can't have that just sitting there at the moment.
Yeah, I know Simon Wilkinson trialed it with 200 sales. Yeah, and he got his days on market down considerably as a result of it. So Thank you. Paul Shamplina, I've never ever heard you so quiet, ever. So thank you for being so incredibly patient. Really appreciate it. Lettings. So March, April, May, end of month. Lot of talk about tenants not paying their rents. There's a lot of talk that you're reading in the papers that tenants shouldn't be paying full stop, if you believe some of the things that are being written. What are you actually seeing on the ground?
Well, as you know, I represent quite a few companies. I obviously not just Landlord Action. I represent, obviously, I'm brand ambassador for Hamilton Fraser. So we own My Deposits, the Property Redress Scheme, Client Money Protect, obviously Landlord Zone. We've just launched HF Assist, which is a letting agent advice line, and we started during lockdown a mediation service through the property redress scheme. So firstly, obviously people know me for rent arrears and landlord action. Where we at? I mean, I'm getting contacted by personally through obviously my name, 5 landlords a day just contacting me directly, really social media with landlord action. I mean, we've been issuing claims the last couple of months, March, April. They've been slower because, of course, the courts have been suspended until the end of June. We haven't had notification that the courts are going to reopen now. We've got 500 cases alone as a regulated law firm stuck in the legal system. What's happened with regard to rent arrears? Well, yeah, I mean, what was happening is you know, until the government free money stops, then we're going to see a real visual with regard to unemployment, which is going to obviously shoot up. There's no two ways about that. So the government announced that, you know, landlords can get some help with regard to help with regard to their lenders if they know their tenants have been affected by COVID-19. And the messages that we've had, you know, we've given from day one is, you know, no tenant really should be evicted through COVID-19, and you've got to work with them and mediate and get what you can and when you can. So obviously that's why we set the mediation business up alone. And we've got, I think we started 3.5 weeks ago. We've had 130 instructions for our mediators to work with landlords and tenants to do deals. There is going to be pre-action protocol coming in. So there's a new procedure coming in that landlords have got to engage with tenants and try and do deals. Mediation is a big way forward. Coming out next week, I can give you hot off the press, there will be a big industry press release with regard to the banning of Section 21. And the industry have come together about what's the unintended consequences if that gets banned. So there's a big report which Landlord Action contributed towards with Property Mark and the landlord associations called Beyond Section 21. So that's still in the future. But of course, the courts, they are going to be chock-a-block. There's going to be loads of backlog. Obviously, there's going to be visual hearings and so forth. But yeah, I mean, obviously rent arrears are shot up, but let's be very clear. I mean, obviously we're in the private rental sector. The market opened up a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, agents now. I mean, I've done so many webinars to agents and landlords during this lockdown. It's been unbelievable, actually. But you know, agents now are getting back to business. Demand is still there. Obviously, people need to sleep somewhere. But you know, what's going to happen is, you know, what I've seen in the market, well, the student market has been slaughtered. You know, you've got students refusing to pay the rent. We had one agent that contacted me. He had 30 students refusing to pay the rent on the advice of the university, believe it or not. And of course, they're contractually liable. There is guarantors in place. But the big problem with student landlords is, you know, universities may not reopen for a year, I read recently, and it might be all online. So that's a massive problem. That's been the worst affected market in the private rental sector. I see also, obviously, houses of multiple occupation. You have a lot of tenants that have been affected employment-wise with regard to, you know, the work. They could be in retail or hospitality. You know, so they've been affected. And obviously, there's been rent arrears, and of course, you know, managing an HMO is difficult at the best of times, especially if you're a self-managed landlord. And then, of course, you've got the guaranteed rent and rent-to-rent market. That's been slaughtered as well, because you're getting rent-to-rent operators or agents that are offering guaranteed rent that are promising to pay landlords, but they've had tenants that are defaulting. So we've been getting loads of instructions based on that. I see a lot of landlords will do direct deals with councils and 3 and 5 year deals. I see a lot of landlords considering housing benefit tenants more than they had previously. I mean, the LHA rates have gone up. We've still got a massive problem with universal credit, and they're trying to get on top of that, but that's a never-ending story. But the reality of all of this, let's not forget, is the worst effect market will be the commercial property market, without a doubt. And I say that from being a former bailiff, and I've got a lot of friends that have got commercial properties, and we broke a story on our website, Landlord Zone, through Nigel Lewis, that British Land in March's quarter, and that was when they were still traders before lockdown, they only collected 43% of retail rents. And of course, June's quarter is going to be up. You're getting a lot of commercial tenants refusing to pay. It's going to be a big problem in that market, much worse than residential market. But I mean, long term, I see rents will come down a bit, and I think the biggest worry for a landlord is obviously a void period.
So opportunities for letting agents on the student market, finding those, are there people that are going to be selling their student properties? Do you think then more will come onto the market? more comes onto the market, then maybe prices will drop.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is, Stephen. I mean, as you know, I've had a bet with Russell Quirk, and we do a YouTube show called the Property Odd Bods, and I've actually doubled the bet to £200 to say that I think the market will come down by May 2021, because I think the reality is that when there is more unemployment, you're also seeing landlords, the ones and twos landlords who are 90% of the market, who actually are in financial trouble themselves. They've been affected. Most of them all work. They might be furloughed. They're self-employed. Cash flow is a massive issue, and they might have to, cash in their chips. So I think you'll see, and of course with all the regulation and maybe the banning of Section 21, a lot of self-managed landlords will think that's it. But there will be opportunities for investment. But the messaging I've given the last 18 months, and I put it in my book that I wrote with Kate Faulkner, is actually you have to use a letting agent in these days. It's harder ever to be a landlord and actually just fully manage. Just take away the stress, give it to a accredited letting agent.
So Michelle, buy-to-let mortgages, what have you seen in the last couple of weeks?
They're still there. They're still there.
Yes, good.
I think we'll find investors making the most of it, to be honest, because I think they'll think that it's a good time to potentially buy. And so we are still arranging buy-to-let mortgages. And
and Kevin, are you? Sorry.
Fine.
Okay. Kevin, what are you seeing? Are you seeing developers or buy-to-let investors still looking at new homes, or that's not really that market anymore?
Yeah, they're still a big competitor to a first-time buyer on typical first-time buyer stock. And okay, they're not necessarily buying it on the yield, but they are buying it on capital appreciation and the fact that generally it's going to command a higher rent. So yeah, there's definitely activity in that place. And look, to sort of go to a lot of people I talk to, even those that have been on furlough, because they haven't been able to spend any money over the last 10 weeks, and a lot of people have actually got more money in their pocket than they had before. So I think, there is still stuff going on that front.
Okay, thank you. So Paul, just coming back to you, short-term Airbnbs, obviously a lot of people aren't going to be traveling. And also if we've got the 14-day quarantine here, again, is that a market that letting agents should be looking at to target to get new landlords? Most definitely. I mean, that market God give people some positive news on this.
No, of course. Listen, there's loads of work for letting agents out there. We've got, 4.5 million dwellings, and the private rental sector's at 21%. Those landlords and that market of Airbnb, which is not regulated, and I've done some work with Lettings Industry Council in relation to that. I mean, obviously, I see the bad side, and obviously, I expose that in the TV program of subletting, which is an issue where tenants are subletting without consent. But you'll see those landlords naturally coming back into the private rental sector. There's no two ways about that. I mean, really, what landlords have got to understand is when they do have a property, whether it's through a letting agent or it is by themselves, and obviously I'm a landlord as well, is actually what's your competition in that area. I mean, I do, as you know, I do loads of public speaking, and I'll do a talking, to many, many landlords, and even actually to loads of letting agents, and still they don't even know what build to rent is, which is obviously a massive part of the market, which is obviously going to increase dramatically. And obviously, as long as investment funds see that they can get a good return, and there's not as much regulation that is in other countries. I mean, believe it or not, we think there's loads of regulation, but if you compare it to the likes of Sweden and Germany and that, we're way behind in respect of that. And in those countries, that those rents are capped. But I mean, landlords have really got to up their game. If they are going to self-manage, do they have the time? They have to join a landlord association like the NRLA or use a letting agent. But yeah, and the answer to your question, the short-term let market, they're not going to leave them empty. A lot of them in quite affluent areas. I mean, in alone, I think it was something like in Edinburgh, I read, there's something like 28 listings or 33 listings out of 100 is Airbnb. And of course, with regard to tourism, you're right, that's taken a massive hit. So now the councils are trying to do deals with landlords to try and buy those properties or do 3 and 5 year deals, which I see a lot of those council leasing will come into play, where landlords just don't want any voids. They bring their rents down a little bit, and they just want obviously some guaranteed rent and make sure the property's looked after on contract.
Okay, brilliant. So a couple of questions have come in, and then I will say thank you very much for your time. So some person called Angelo, don't know who he is, said cash is king, but your cash is not in your hands, but your conveyance is control. So please push your seller and buyers to push their conveyancers to speak on Zoom or conference call. All your hard work and cash is out of your control, so now conveyancers are more desperate. Your influence on your client to push their lawyers to talk as they pay their bills, so client can move and you can get paid and more, and pipeline of term. What was that in English? Right, Andrea says, do you think that the conveyancing system could be made more simple, such as it is in Scotland? Tony, you know a lot about the Scottish conveyancing market?
I think it could be, but the reality is not going to be for now. So I think that's why we have to, as an industry, you know, agent, I say, count myself as an agent because that was my first job. That's why as an industry, we must control the conveyancing, because it's not going to change immediately. And there's some great things that are happening now, but it's not going to change immediately. So I think I always bang on about, you know, it's got to be better teamwork. It's got to be, I think, you know, agents need money at the moment, but ultimately, and referral fees are important, but ultimately it's about getting a lawyer to actually get your deals through. You know, if you get a referral fee and a lawyer that gets the deals through, amazing. But the reality is that, you know, you have to have people that are just as driven as you to get your cases to exchange and complete. And I think that's what needs to happen. You know, you have to drive those. And we work with agents up and down the country, you know, and they're good agents. And, you know, I think the reality is we all got to take control of it. All agents got to really take controls, get your clients to exchange. And the way you do that is through having a great teamwork with your lawyers. And that's the thing that really can control it and make a difference now. Prop tech, yeah, it's amazing. It can make a difference. But really what makes a difference is getting a good lawyer on board that's actually going to drive your cases to get to exchange completion. That's
good lawyer, good mortgage broker, 100%. So Owen asks, instead of estate agents doing their own property questionnaire, CPR, shouldn't agents just use the same inquiry forms as solicitors? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone and saves time. Tony?
Sorry, say that again, Stephen. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Instead of estate agents doing their own property questionnaires, CPR, shouldn't agents just use the same basis of inquiry forms as solicitors?
Well, I think that's we do a HIT product, and we actually use the forms that the Law Society recommend and things like this. And I think, you know, it works for us. I think I think what you say is a really good idea. I think what property market trying to do and has had success with the CLC is to have CLC members, council licensed mortgage lenders, so Council of Licensed Conveyancers members, accept the property market toolkit forms as the equivalent of the protocol ones. But the SRA, so the Law Society, haven't accepted that yet. And I think when that happens, and of course that's all been delayed because of COVID, but when that does happen, you know, hopefully that form is going to be the one that everyone uses. But for now, I think you make a great point. I think it is important that you use forms that are not going to be duplicated. But again, if you can control the lawyers that are you're going to be working with, you'll know whether or not they're going to accept that form or not. So yeah, but I think that's a fair point.
Okay, Paul Rolfe, only lawyers can change the way it's done. Lead from the front. I don't think he's a big fan of lawyers. I get that impression from your 72 messages in the comments, Paul Rolfe.
Well, I agree. You know, you're speaking to the converted. I think, you know, I was an agent before, and I always had that frustration with lawyers. And I think, again, you get some really good lawyers. I think you get lots of lawyers that aren't as good, and I think that's the problem. And what I'm saying really is that you can't control those people. So if you can't control, if you've got a bad lawyer that's working for your client, you've got to take control and give the client great advice. I mean, great advice to the client is, look, you know, use this lawyer that we work with. We know he gets deals through. So, but I agree absolutely with Paul. It's absolutely true. Lawyers have to, it's not they should take it, they have to take the lead, because ultimately they're the ones that can control whether it exchanges or not. So, yeah, absolutely right.
It's a very large part of our process as well, and takes a lot of our time, which really shouldn't happen. But, you know, we think about the client throughout the whole process, and we want them to get to the other side as quickly as we possibly can. And actually, you know, to give you an example, we can be sat on the phone 50 minutes getting through to a firm, which is, in my opinion, appalling. So the sooner we can move away from working with companies like that, who shall remain nameless, the better, because you're absolutely, everything that you've said is spot on. We need to be working with lawyers that want to do the job for the client. So yeah, it's hard work. From our perspective, it's real hard work. They think we're bothering them. Joke. But, you know, we've got the client's interest at heart, and we will bother them till we get to the other side.
Okay. I think the problem is now is, say, agents they're busy enough as it is. They're trying to progress the current deals. They're trying to get new stock on. They're trying all these things. So yeah, you're right. You know, you have to be chasing people to help your client get through, but that's why it's so important that you control who you're getting your work to, because if you don't, you're spending all that time just chasing people, and it doesn't always get you anywhere.
No,
100%. It's all about getting recommended solicitors, recommended brokers, and it makes your sale go through so much easier and so much quicker. You know, I remember when I was an agent many years ago. You know, we had exchanges on a Sunday. We had exchanges on 11 o'clock in the evening. You know, and we have conversations at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's having that relationship.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
With people. Yeah, it was with you. So definitely. You know, well, and again with Michelle, it's, you know, you can pick up the phone and have a conversation. And same, I'm sure, Kevin, when you were at Romans, you had that, you know, those relationships with people, and your sales would progress and go through a lot quicker. So, Paul, I'm only teasing. I know you love solicitors, good ones at least, anyway. Hi, Asad. Thanks for joining us.
Well, just on that point, Stephen. Just on that point, Stephen. Obviously, Landlord Action are solicitors, and I set Landlord Action up because I was frustrated with solicitors. I used to work in solicitors. Every time you pick up the phone, every time you write a letter, they charge you. So that's why, you know, we did fixed fees. Obviously, in the conveyancing game, it's fixed fees. But a lot of what's been said, I agree. Obviously, as a director and the founder of Landlord Action, albeit we're in a different field of landlord and tenant, I make it very clear to all. We've got 9 lawyers and paralegals that we speak to landlords and letting agents and a landlord and letting agent language. You know, the worst thing you have is, especially when you speak to solicitors, and I think Michelle can confirm to that, is you speak to a solicitor and they sound like they've got a plum in their mouth, and especially, you know, and they're, of course, you know, they're patronising, condescending, you know, and that's true, you know, and agents are fearful of speaking to solicitors. I know landlords are as well, you know, so it's important to speak in a layman's language. I think that's very important.
It absolutely is. And from where I'm from, everyone's posh anyway, but everyone's posh to be.
I'm a proper cockney. Don't worry about that.
But, you know, that's spot on, Paul. And it would be so much easier and quicker and more efficient if we all did work together instead of being treated like the poor relation. And you know, lawyers, well, they're the conduit to it all, aren't they? And
what's going to happen out the back of this, you'll see many high street law firms get out of business. They've struggled with cash flow. I saw a report from the Law Society, you know, and you know, obviously the small. I worked for a law firm that had, when I was 16, 17 in Brighton, they had something like, I don't know, that 25, 30 partners, and then I went to a one-man band. The game's changed now, and I think there's no right of entitlement with regard to clients, and solicitors now will have to, I think, give a much better service and fight for their customer. It's all about engagement and retaining that client. And it's been like that with letting agents for years. It now has to be that with lawyers. It's going to all totally change.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it's important to say that there are some very good firms out there as well.
Definitely. Cool.
But you're absolutely right. There are more poor ones than there are good ones.
Okay, well, look, we're gonna end it on that. Tony P doesn't sleep, so apart from his afternoon nap, I know you got to have a little cat nap now. That's what Assad says. Kevin, Michelle, Tony, Paul, really grateful for your time coming back again and giving a market update. On Tuesday, we have got Assad, Vicky coming on. So Vicky is the managing director of Location. So she's going to be sharing all of Assad's and Vicky's secrets as to what makes them the #1 UK agent, according to Property Academy and the Sunday Times. So looking forward to that. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend, everybody, and a productive Friday afternoon. And if you're watching on replay, thanks for joining. So thank you all again, and great having you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.